Hey guys, Jonah here, back once again, sailing the seas of beer, and yeah, we are back in Beer 52 territory. It's the last one, end of an era. The Beer Awards, and this thing, disc golf, craft beer lovers, disc golf. What the fuck's that about? Anyway, just very, very weird. And this is weird as well. So the beer we're doing today is the Southern Hemisphere Award. It doesn't say the best Southern Hemisphere, it just says an award for being in the Southern Hemisphere. Don't know why it's not. There we go. Strange Brewing. And they are a craft brewery, obviously, based not in Australasia, but in Argentina. I mean, there's only a few American or South American places that are in the Southern Hemisphere, because most of it is kind of in the Northern Hemisphere, which is weird. But Argentina definitely goes all the way down to the Falkland Islands, which is British, don't you know? Yeah, we had a bit of a falling out about that in the 80s. But yeah, don't fuck with the Falkland Islands, or we'll come and get you, Argentina. But Buenos Aires, I believe, is where they're based, and this is called Plato de Café, or de Cave, de Cave. Why is it not? Oh, there we go. It's focusing. I'm not sure why it's not focusing today. Strange Brewing. It is a dry stout at 4.6%. Interesting. It says down here, store cold, drink fresh, all that kind of stuff, which is essential with stouts, isn't it? Well, no, it isn't at all. But we'll get onto that. There is a coon, a raccoon, that is, smoking in some sort of cafe. I guess the Cafe de Santos, or whatever it was called. Oh, what was it called? Cafe Platos de Café. That's the one. Was this actually brewed in South America? Brewed and canned by Strange Brew in the EU. So no is the answer. Just a ridiculous way of writing things. I don't actually know why they bother. We do have oats in this bad boy. Have we got wheat? I can't quite read because my eyes aren't working. Barley hops. Rolled oats. Interesting. The hops are pearl. That's all the info I've got, really. I'm hoping this is quite nice. We shall see. We shall see. Let's do a pressure test, because I've been rolling this can around and it could all go pear-shaped. Ooh. It's kind of one of those sneaky ones. We shall see if the oats have done something with the head. But it's not exploded everywhere, which is good. I'm not bad track record last year. We kind of had maybe one major kind of explosion. It went all over me, it went all over the floor. But I think it was only once. I caught a couple, and my trousers remained reasonably dry, which is good. Anyway, let us do this beer. This is the European version. Nothing says Argentinian more than a European beer. I mean, what the hell? How ridiculous is that? Basically, they've contract brewed through Beer 52 and said, if you do that for us, we'll give you an award. And that's what's happened, because it's not the best of anything, really. Oh, look at that. That's good. 2 fingers, like crunchy looking thing. Those bubbles, big old bubbles in there, like a honeycomb. Right. Platos de Café. something like that, dear viewer. So, yeah, let's see what we get from this. Reasonably light. Glad we're in the 4% and not 3%. I'm glad they didn't call it an imperial stout at 4%, and that's something that I've kind of think is going to happen, because that's how they treat the customers. Just be honest. Be honest with the customers. That's all we ask. If you lie to us, well, if you're anything like me, if you lie to me, I won't be back. Do you know what I mean? I tell you what, lovely roasted malts. There's some coffee in there, tiny bit of sweetness, but not too much. This is a dry stout. This isn't a lacto. But yeah, dark stuff. A little bit of kind of almost like gravy kind of smell. Something really dark, like molasses, like that kind of smell, like real dark, but a little bit fruity, a little bit nutty kind of thing, if that makes sense. Let's see what we get from this one. Cheers and beers, dear viewer. Oh, do me a favour. Here, do me a favour. Why don't you click like to this video? Do it now while I'm drinking this. Oh, yeah, nice. Ooh. There's a sort of thing when you get coffee, when you get green coffee, because you have to roast coffee beans. They start off green, and if you eat them, there's a little bit of kind of fruitiness about them. And that's kind of what's going on here. It is dark, don't get me wrong, but it's dark with a hint, with a kind of, it's not like super fruity, don't get me wrong, but it's that kind of dark beer, dark coffee, dark gritty stuff. But there's a hint of kind of fruit in the back behind the darkness. So it is dark. It is kind of, it's not too astringent, to be honest, but it is roast. Mouthfeel is reasonably light, I'd say. Light, bordering on medium. This is not a lager, for example. There's definitely something going on. It's like, you can't quite chew it. It's not that thick, but it's like, there's something there in the background, something to trigger your mind. If you remember a couple of days ago, I had that robust porter at 3%. What the fuck? Ridiculous. This, although this is still quite a light beer, light mouthfeel, it's got a lot more kind of oomph going on. And this is only like 1% stronger in alcohol, but it's got a lot more, yeah, a lot more malt, a lot more richness. And malt is cheap. Man, don't scrimp on the malt. Hops are a little bit more expensive. So, but if you're doing a dark beer, Jesus, don't scrimp on the malt. It's like Brewing 101. But alas, that's what your master craft brewer who's in their 20s, but they're still a master brewer somehow. Really? Oh, straight out of college. Oh, straight out of university. Oh, you must be a master. We'll give you a master brewer. Jesus Christ. That stuff should take you years. You should be in your 50s at least before you can call yourself a master brewer. Maybe it's a woman and they fast tracked her. You know what I mean? Fast tracked her. Yeah. Ridiculous. I better be quiet. I'll get into trouble somehow. With DIE. Is it DIE? DIE? Diversity, inclusion, and everything else. Ugh. DIE for short. That's what I wish he would do. But anyway, this beer is much better. Is it from Argentina? No. It was brewed in the EU by a brewery owned by Beer 52, which I'm fully aware of. However, I do actually like this beer. I'll have to see if there are any other ones available. Platos de Café, dry stout by Strange Brewing. Ironically, I looked them up, and they do a lot of like hazies and IPA type beers. So hazy pales, hazy IPAs, NEPAs, all the fashionable beers. And for some unknown reason, they decided to do a stout for Beer 52, and that is fair dues. And this beer is actually quite nice. I do like this, assuming it's theirs at all. I think I'll give them kudos for that. So the beer, quite good. I'm liking it. Everything else attached and the sneakiness, because this is not an Argentinian beer. It's an Argentinian recipe, perhaps, made in the UK. You know that in the EU, Jesus, I was going to say the UK. We're not part of the EU. What was I going to say? Yes, all the best breweries in the world have an aspect of terroir, which is a wine term meaning the earth, but what it really means is the location. So water is a good thing, but even ingredients that are reasonably local to you. And you can't replicate that by brewing it halfway around the world. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. But I bet you this beer does not taste like the version that they have in Argentina. You could argue that recipes of any sort, you're always, unless you make it yourself, even at restaurants, they change the recipe as they're making it, as to what's available, what's seasonal in that particular place. But when you fly something totally halfway around the world, is it a true representation of what the brewery are actually doing where they are? I would say probably not. And then the question you've got to ask yourself, and it's not, have I fired 5 bullets or 6? I guess the question is, does it matter? And for an old hypocrite like me, yes, it does. But I would perfectly accept your argument over a beer, and that's important. If you want to argue with me and say, no, it's the recipe's important, you can implement your own thing. Look at Guinness. You've got American Guinness, you've got Nigerian Guinness, you've got proper Guinness, you've even got UK Guinness, and they all taste slightly different. And that is very, very true. None of them are Guinness original. Anyway, what am I talking about? The beer, that's what I should be talking about. Guys, take care of each other, take care of yourselves. Remember, I'll be back for another beer review real soon, and I'll leave you with the last of this beer.